It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Our 12-year-old at the moment, she's driving us up the wall. She's the fifth one. We should know how to deal with a 12-year-old that drives us up the wall by now, but no matter how much we go through this, it still is challenging.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
G'day, this is Dr. Justin Coulson with a special guest in the Happy Families podcast studio today. I'm having a random conversation with the guy who's doing some renovations on our bathroom. His name is Carl. And Carl starts telling me that he was looking for a podcast to listen to, wanted to figure out what he could do about his 15-year-old who's giving him some grief, and started Googling and searching in Spotify for a podcast about parenting, and then realised that he was doing some work for a guy who writes books about it. And so Carl found my name in Spotify. And instead of listening to the Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families podcast, he found an interview that I did with a fatherhood podcast about a year ago on discipline and punishment. So he's telling me this story, and I thought instead of talking with Kylie today about the topic we were going to discuss, it would be fun to talk to Carl about what he's learning about discipline and punishment and the challenge that it is of raising kids who have their own agendas and don't want to do what mum and dad say. So Carl, welcome to the Happy Families podcast that you've never listened to before.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Carl's sitting in the seat opposite me looking like he's so scared that he might just do a little wee. I don't know if I should have said that or not. Anyway, so Carl.
My first podcast.
So Carl, tell us a bit about your family before we dive into the serious problem solving that we need to do.
Married for around 20 years, 4 children. We had 4 children under 5 years old at the start, so we had kids very quickly.
Yeah.
And we've not had any kids since then, so we've got still got 4 kids.
Okay, and something that stunned me when I was having a chat with you, because you're a picture of health. I actually went to swat you in the stomach and I almost hurt my hand. It was so rock hard. But you're a cancer survivor.
Yes, true. I had stage 3/stage 4 lymphoma and had 5 months of chemotherapy, like high dose chemotherapy. It's called dose-adjusted REPOC for those that know the technical terms. And I was in hospital for quite a while, and then maybe 3 or 4 weeks in hospital, and then I was able to go home and just come in for chemotherapy treatments from time to time. And you go three week stages of chemotherapy.
So when you get a stage 3/stage 4 diagnosis of lymphoma, prognosis is poor. There's no such thing as a good outcome.
I was given a prognosis of 50-50 chance of living 2 years.
Wow.
Anything beyond that, you're doing well.
Right. So how long ago was that?
That would be 3 to 4 years ago now.
Okay.
And so I'm doing well as far as things go.
Well, based on how solid your abs are, you're doing very well.
I'm doing really well. Yeah. So thanks be to the heavens above.
Wow. So Carl, let's talk about this challenge with one of your kids, 15 years old. They're all obviously clumped pretty closely together.
Yep.
Is this your eldest?
This is my third.
Okay, all right. So you've been through.
So they're all teenagers.
Yeah.
Now they're 18 to 13 now.
Okay.
That 5-year span. So the youngest is 13 and the oldest is 18.
And dealing with challenging teens, therefore, is not new to you.
I've had 2.
You've had 2
I've
already.
been through 2 that have now 17, 18. So they've been through this stage.
Even though you've been there, it's still hard.
Yes.
And Kylie and I have this all the time. We've got 6 kids, but even though we're dealing with like our 12-year-old at the moment,
Yep.
She's driving us up the wall.
Yep.
But we've done this. She's the 5th one. We should know how to deal with a 12-year-old that drives us up the wall by now, but absolutely doing our head in. In fact, the text message that you sent me on your way to do this bathroom today was, my 15-year-old is doing my head in at the moment.
Yep.
No matter how
end quote.
End quote. Yeah. No matter how much we go through this, it still is challenging. Let's hear the scenario yesterday.
Okay. So yesterday, my 15-year-old refused to go to school.
Is this a normal thing?
Time to time.
Sure.
Your kids don't want to go to school.
In the same way that some adults sometimes don't want to go to work.
Don't want to go to work, yeah. Yeah, that's right. So he refused to go to school even though he wasn't sick.
But it's not like it's part of a recurring pattern with high levels of anxiety and school refusal and all that kind of thing.
Not generally. I mean, every kid's different and has their different, rejection of things or rebellion. But nothing unusual. Just a kid, doesn't want to go to school, might be having an exam on or something, or doesn't have many friends he'd like, or whatever. Normal, typical teenage stuff. Nothing unusual.
Yep.
So refused to go to school. My wife therefore has to manage him at home the whole day
because you're at work.
Because I'm at work, and she's my wife's a stay-at-home mum. So by the end of the day, my wife's had enough of him because he's been home all day. She's got to fight him off YouTube. She's got to fight him off his devices. She's got to fight him off because she doesn't want to reward him while he's staying home from school. If you're going to stay home from school, you need to go to sleep. Then if you're sick, you need to do this or that. So she's had to...
let's just pause on that for a sec, though, because he's not sick and he's not pretending he's sick. He just doesn't want to go to school.
No, he did have a sleep, though. I didn't notice he fell asleep for a little while, but yeah, he's not sick enough that he should have stayed home from school.
Sure, but there's this concept that a lot of parents will really stick to, and your wife's done this, where she said, well, I don't want staying at home to become so positive, such a good experience that you're going to want to do this all the time because you're only 15 and you're supposed to be at school, and if you're having a good time at home today, you might want to do it again.
Correct.
And then we're going to have a big problem.
Absolutely.
I'm going to jump in before you tell me the rest of the scenario and suggest that for the most part, that fear is unfounded.
Which fear?
The fear that we're going to be rewarding our child if our child's allowed to stay at home and have fun for a day.
Yeah.
In fact, I really encourage parents to let their kids have a mental health day every now and again. Teachers hate me for saying it, but every now and again...
I'll call this a mental health day.
Yeah, but obviously your wife didn't feel quite the same way. She was like, he can't have a good day today. He has to have a horrible day. He has to stay in bed.
Well, not necessarily like a inverted commas horrible day, but I guess she didn't want him feeling like this was like a necessarily like repeatable, appropriate way to behave when you really should be at school.
Yes.
So, but now that you've made your point, you're enlightening me in saying that, and that's probably a good way to put this, would be a mental health day.
Yeah,
for him.
And if you actually call it a treat, then all of a sudden your child's not going, well, I need a treat every day, because you don't get treats every day. You have treats every so often.
True.
And it feels a little bit different.
And as a person, myself, as an adult and knowing through what I've been through, I need mental health days, from work or from whatever you're involved.
15-year-olds.
Yeah, you need from 15-year-olds, whatever. So I think we all need that, and it's good that mental health is becoming a non-taboo topic these days.
Okay, so we move to afternoon. Mm-hmm. You get home, and what happens?
Okay, so I didn't come home. I finished work, and my wife said the boys have basketball at 5:10 at the basketball stadium. So Josh wants to play. Josh wants to. I've named him now. Sorry, Josh. And my wife says, but I don't want to take him because I don't want to reward him with a cookie after he's stayed home all day and he should have gone to school and he's gone against my wishes. So I don't want to reward him with basketball.
Right.
Then it was my turn to have the conversation.
After the break, we're going to find out what the right thing to do is when your child's had the day off and then wants to go and play basketball because he's not sick. The unhealthy, unhelpful boy code that is rampant in our children's school and social environments encourages some persistent and dangerous ideas about what it means to be male. But the Building Better Boys webinar is here to help unpack these cultural ideas and help guide our boys to be brilliant, beautiful, and even better. Building Better Boys is available today online at happyfamilies.com.au. It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time poor parent who just wants answers now. So let's get to some answers. What happened, Carl, when your wife said, I don't want him to go and have fun tonight because he had the day off school and he wasn't sick, so therefore he should have been at school. I don't want to reward him. How did that play out?
I understood where my wife was coming from. She's annoyed, she's tired, she's had enough of him. He's done her head in for the day, so she's had enough. She's had a gutful. So I hadn't. I'd been at work all day, so I hadn't been dealing with him constantly. So I had a bit more energy and a bit more, I guess, emotional tolerance for him and where he was at. So I said to her, I really think he needs basketball because part of the reason he's refused to go to school is for whatever reason, right? With mental health day, doesn't want to go for whatever reason. So I said, I think him playing basketball might actually help him want to go to school tomorrow because it's going to get the dopamine going, it's going to get the exercise happening, get the adrenaline rolling. He's going to feel good after the game. He's going to get tired. He'll sleep better and he'll probably be more likely to want to go to school tomorrow. So I said, look, I get where you're coming from. I don't want to give him the cookie either. I don't think he should be rewarded for bad behaviour if we could consider this bad behaviour, but it may not have been bad behaviour. It may have just been a mental health day. And so I said, I think we should take him to basketball and let him play. And he did. So he played basketball.
Did he have a cracking game because he was well rested?
I think he did pretty good.
So what happens after basketball?
So after basketball, we go to KFC. And
so now the punishment kicks in.
Yes, saturated fats. So after dinner, we had our family discussion, which revolved around some different topics. But I actually walked out. So my son was doing my head in after KFC, and we had a family discussion after dinner. And I got frustrated with him about the discussion we were having, and I stormed off. Like, I wouldn't storm off like.
So you've gone from being the patient dad,
Yes,
after work because you've got all that energy.
Now he's fatigued me.
Yeah, and this is the thing with teenagers. In fact, this is the thing with arguments generally. The person with the highest energy will usually win. Now, that's not a very scientific sort of way of doing it, but and we can look at energy in a couple of different ways. We can look at energy from a high capacity, like as in I'm explosive. In other words, if I dominate you with my really big energy and I'm getting super mad at things, my higher energy, my bigger size, whatever it is, I can absolutely win because big energy wins. But I can also win as a 15-year-old up against dad
Wearing him down.
by just incessantly, but what about, but that's unfair, but this, but that, which is kind of what happened in the morning.
Which pretty much was the conversation after dinner.
Yeah.
This is unfair, what you asked me to do, a conversation around technology use and using your iPhone and stuff. And so the conversation wore me down because he wouldn't agree with what we were asking of the technology use. And I after half an hour, I was like, I'm done. And I just got up and walked to my car. And I felt wrong walking to my car. I did feel I was doing the wrong thing.
Right.
Like I felt like I was taking my bat and ball and going home.
Okay.
A little bit.
Is that because you felt like you just need to get a solution?
I'm not sure why I felt I was doing the wrong thing, but I felt I could have handled the situation better than just getting up and walking off.
So the real question
I didn't say anything, I just left.
Yeah, and we've only got a couple of minutes to wrap this up, and we do need to get some answers. So there are probably 3 questions that we need to be able to resolve here for any parent who's going through this ongoing tension, conflict, and fussiness that we have with kids who are digging in rather than hearing what we've got to say. The first one, you've used the term bad behaviour a couple of times. Is he behaving badly? So we need to just address that. The second one that we need to address, Carl, is it appropriate to allow him to go and play basketball when he's had a day off, even though having a day off was against your wishes? And the third issue is, can dad walk away? Is it okay for a parent to walk away when a conversation is not going anywhere? Does that make it so that the kid has won? So that the child walks away thinking, all I have to do is be belligerent. All I have to do is be persistent. All I've got to do is have more fortitude than my parents and I can win and get whatever I want. I can have my way. To answer these questions, the first thing that we have to work out is, what is our philosophy? What is our foundational belief about our children's character? Are our children out, especially our teenagers, are they out to put one over us? Or do they actually want to do the right thing? Do they want to grow and learn and develop in positive ways and have good relationships with us? What's your underlying philosophy?
I think definitely my son's not belligerent and wants to be a bad person.
Right.
He 100% he's in that stage where he's having difficulty finding out how to achieve that.
Of course.
Our other 2 children, we've been through the same stage. Obviously a little bit different because all kids are different, but we've had this same 12 months of difficulty with our first son, where it was just virtually unbearable. And then with our daughter, same thing. Oh man, like 12 months of virtually unbearable. But then they come out the other side and they're fantastic.
Fantastic. So now
so my child, this 15-year-old is right in the middle of it right now.
And the critical thing here that you've highlighted is what research shows as well, and that is that our children are not out to get us.
Absolutely.
Our children...
He's a good kid.
They're not only are they good kids, but they want good relationships. But they also, the word that I always use is they're really clumsy in the way they try to achieve their ends because they they just don't think things through too well.
And he wants to be loved too. Your children want to be loved. They want to be accepted and loved. And so,
but they also want to be allowed to make their own choices.
But sometimes the way they go around getting that love is not the way we would like them to go about it.
Yeah, they want that autonomy. The second thing is it okay to reward them with a night out at basketball when they've had a day off and they shouldn't have had it? And I believe that the 2 things are essentially unrelated. Basketball's got nothing to do with school. Not wanting to go to school is for a mental health day or because there's friendship challenges or because there's A, B, C, D, E or F happening or all of those happening. And therefore, your child's saying, I just don't think I can face it today. But basketball is for him an outlet. It's an opportunity to be social. It's an opportunity to be active. And this is probably what he needs more than anything. Big tick for Carl.
Thank you.
Look at that. Now, the third question is, do you walk away? When the discussion later on is you try to talk things through, if it's not going anywhere, do you try to walk away? Or do you walk away or do you try to get to a solution? The biggest problem that parents have when they're dealing with children who are being fussy, challenging, difficult, whatever, is that we feel like it's our job. Our ego gets in the way and we feel like we need to fix the situation and we need to fix our child. And so we stay in a conversation that is not going anywhere. As we do that, there's a phrase that I use all the time: high emotions, low intelligence. We become more emotional, and so do they. Intelligence goes out the window. We start acting with the lower part of our brain rather than the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of our brain. And in the end, people get offended, people get upset, people say things that they don't mean, because in the moment they think that they're right, and later on they think, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I said that. The best thing we can do is to walk away and say, this isn't finished, but this is also not productive right now. It's not good for our relationship to continue. We'll work it out when we've had a good night's sleep. Don't forget, he's just played a game of basketball. It's the end of the day. You've been working all day. Everyone's tired. Relationships and emotions are strained anyway. That's not a good time to have a conversation. Correct. Fix it on the weekend, or fix it tomorrow morning, or just give them space so that they can tap back into the character that they have at their foundation. That is, I want to have good relationships with the people that I love.
If I had my time over, I think what you're saying is right. I should have just said, hey, look, this conversation's, we're not really getting anywhere. We're agreeing to disagree at the moment. Let's just call it a night and let's go home. If I'd ended on that note, rather than just walking out without saying a word, I think that would have been a better way to finish. That's probably why I felt a little bit like I felt a little bit I didn't handle the situation as good as I could have. I just think walking away is better than having a big blow up.
But if you can walk away with those three most important words as well, this isn't going anywhere, we need to wrap it up, and then you say those three words. Not I love you. It's the words that come after that, no matter what. So when you say to your kid, this isn't working, but I love you, no matter what, and then you walk away, totally different scenario. For curiosity's sake, the next day, which is today, how did he wake up? How was the family feeling?
So, happy ending to the story. So my wife said to me this morning as I left for work, Josh is a different child today. He's ready for school early. He's in a good mood, and he's ready and rearing to go to school. And so I thought that was fantastic. I thought we made the right decision. And my wife and I made a joint decision. I didn't like override her to take him to basketball and say, you're being silly. You know, we spoke about it, and we both agreed, that basketball would be a good thing for him to do. And it all worked out well. I think it helped him get in a good mental state for the next day.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. That was fun. That was a bit random. I've never had a builder on the podcast before. If you'd like more info about making your family happier, please visit us at happyfamilies.com.au. Tomorrow, back with another big podcast talking about embracing a sleep divorce. What happens when couples decide to sleep in separate beds? Are there risks? Are there rewards? And then on Thursday, it's book club.